Good afternoon. Welcome to Trading the Close on this Wednesday. I'm Toni Valliere with Verified Investing. Here's what's making headlines today. Fed Chairman Jerome Powell says the Fed is still in no rush to lower interest rates. He says they need more evidence that inflation is easing. Private sector job gains in the U.S. were the strongest in 8 months, generating 184,000 new jobs, well above the forecasted 155,000. Ulta Beauty shares fall after the CEO warns of a cooling demand in the beauty world. Costco will be offering its members access to weight loss programs and medications, including Wegovy and Ozempic. Let's get a check of where things stand just minutes before the closing bell on this hump day. The Dow is now down 56 points. I'd say minutes ago it was down over 100 points. And right now we've got the NASDAQ down up 34 points, 0.21%. We've got the S&P 500 up just slightly, 0.02%. Oil is up just slightly, gold up $16. Bitcoin is now up $446 at this moment. Let's bring in Chief Market Strategist Gareth Soloway.
Hey.
The market today, just kind of keeping me on my toes in the last hour here.
Yeah.
You as well. We started off positive, right?
Yep.
In the green.
So it was, strong gap. Well, actually, there was a gap. It was a gap lower today. And so let's talk this day through because it was kind of wacky. So the S&P 500 initially, initially we opened lower. So this is where we closed yesterday. We opened down here. And the reason we opened lower was because of that jobs data, the ADP, which is private sector. Now, Friday we'll get the non-farm payrolls, but the private sector number came in much stronger than expected. So a strong economy is bad for stocks because it causes interest rates to go up because the Fed is less likely to cut. So the market started lower, and then all of a sudden we started to rip higher because we got ISM services numbers that came out at 10 o'clock this morning, and they were weaker. So then the market was like, all right, here we go, weakening economy. This is great.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's so bizarre, right?
Yeah.
But that's really what drove us up. And then you could see this big red candle middle of the day on the S&P. That's when Jerome Powell gave his speech, and he was a little hawkish. So then the markets came down, they then reversed, and then we got this big dump towards the end of the day. I'm not really sure what was going on there. I looked at the dollar. There was no major movement. The yield's not so sure either. So I don't know if a headline hit or if it's just a big institution dumped, but you can see we did bounce back. But it's just been like a weird, choppy day. I think, again, everyone's just waiting now. Tomorrow we'll have jobless claims, not that big of a deal, but the Friday non-farm payrolls is now looming large. Yeah,
it's a bigger deal. Yeah, I'd seen some news sources had reported it was on Intel, their news, and Disney, but yeah, sometimes you just never
don't know. Yeah.
Right? Because it's now starting to come back.
Right.
A lot of big market movers today, and that includes, of course, Intel dips on their releasing their foundry results, which $7 billion loss in the chip division. Tesla, Ulta Beauty, which I have to tell you is surprising to me.
Yeah.
Is it because of the rising credit card debt kind of looming?
That's what so I think you're finally seeing the consumer starting to struggle, right? So yesterday, remember, we had PVH, which is Calvin Klein, Tommy Hilfiger. They dropped, that stock dropped huge. They're seeing a slowdown in the consumer as well. And now Ulta Beauty's warning as well. So you're right. I mean, Intel's a whole different story because that's just a big loss in their chip division. One thing on Intel, though, I have this convergence of levels right between 38 and 39. That's really where I'm looking at as a potential major support.
Okay.
So I think it'll come down. You can see it's down pretty sizably today, about 8%. Should get down a little bit lower, but then it starts to look a little interesting on that front. Now, if we look at Ulta, right, huge drop here. I mean, this is a big time drop, down 15% on the day. And again, this was kind of all of a sudden, it just, going into the open, it just opened lower after they warned. And it's just almost all day long it's gone lower. Now, it does have key support, right? You have a big gap fill right here. This is going to be a big level right around, I think it's right around 425, 424. And then you have an upsloping trend line that's around the 400 level. So for me as a swing trader, I'm going to start getting interested in this zone right here. I'm not sure exactly where yet, but it will eventually get a bounce. It might just go a little bit lower first. And again, I just want to show you guys the intraday on this because it is pretty remarkable.
I want to ask you, is that where people start to cut back in the beginning, when they start seeing things starting to kind of go down and the CEO warned of this business, this industry already starting to cool a little sooner than they expected. Are people cutting back on beauty?
So
and
this is the
pampering
interesting
themselves?
thing, right? Is usually the cutbacks happen in the lower income brackets first, right? Because the wealthier that can afford like the Tommy Hilfigers, Calvin Kleins, and these beauty products, they usually have investments in the stock market, which the stock market's basically at all-time highs. So things are, even though inflation's higher for that group, the higher income, they're able to weather it because asset prices are going up, right? So the fact that we're starting to see at the kind of the higher end, it's starting to stall out is actually very, very scary for the economy, for at least from my perspective.
Okay.
And we even talked about this like a week ago where we've started to see that people that make 50,000 or under, they're not even able to go to McDonald's anymore because prices are so high. So again, it seems like now it's spreading not just from the low income, but now it's even heading to the higher income, which again, imagine if the stock market drops just 10%. I mean, what does that then do to the consumer for the shock of seeing their portfolios drop 10%?
Yes.
And that's just a run-of-your-mill 10% correction. We get one of those usually once a year. So these are things that I've been kind of warning about over the last 6 months or so that you got to be aware of. You got to start to look at the underlying data. And yeah, the jobs number was okay today, but is it people just taking multiple part-time jobs? Like what's the culprit here? And I think that's a big deal.
We'll never see that part of the data.
Yeah, you see, the only time you can see it is in the U6, which is not the headline that the mainstream media talks about. The U6 is like underemployed people that have part-time jobs, so they're not technically unemployed, but they wish they could have a full-time job.
Yeah.
And that number is now over 7%. So 7% unemployment in the U6, which is part-time.
Okay. Dave & Buster's was another big market mover. They actually saw their share surge on earnings. Spotify also surging.
Yeah.
And then GE Aerospace as well.
Yeah, that's right after they split the company.
Yeah.
And that stock was already a hot stock going into that, and it's continued today to be a hot stock with that split into now 3 companies.
3, I believe,
One was a while back, and then this was the final split of the last 2.
Yeah.
But again, to me, I look at that chart of GE, and it just and in fact, let's take a quick look at that because I think it's just so crazy, right? These type of charts, they're so vertical that at some point it will have a big corrective move. But again, this is not like, this is GE, right? It shouldn't be going this vertical to the upside. And again, this is, looking at price, this is down around $80. So, I mean, this is just at the November of last year. So we're talking less than 6 months ago, basically, or about 6 months ago. And the stock's up, basically 80%. That is not normal. So again, at some point, you should see a bigger corrective move on it. Again, that would just bring us back probably to like 120 or so, somewhere in this vicinity. There's a gap fill here, and then we'll have to see if the markets and if the economy starts to really slow. But again, Jerome Powell today, he was pretty hawkish. Like, the market did dip initially, so it's like, are we getting 3 still? Maybe it's 2 now. Maybe it's just 1, and the markets are starting to favor, right? Maybe none. And again, next week, CPI.
Okay.
So next week, we got to watch that CPI like a hawk, because 2 months in a row, it's been hot, meaning higher inflation.
All right, can we please look at oil and gold quickly? And then I do want to remind anybody watching, in the comments, we do read those, and if there is something specific, coming up, let us know, and we will be sure to look at that as well. I do have Paul Sampson here, our in-house crypto expert. He's going to show us Bitcoin and Ethereum in just a second.
Yeah, so oil today, right, we started with strong movement, and I actually took a short on this early in the day, made some money on the pullback. Basically, I'm going on the angle that I still think oil is going to roll over. We will not confirm now. It's an interesting thing because the oil chart, it closes, or the oil trade closes at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time.
Okay.
But then there's after-hours electronic trade. Based on the 2:30 close, we did not confirm a breakout above this level, so we'll have to just continue to monitor. It could confirm tomorrow, but nonetheless, at this stage, it didn't, so I'm keeping a close eye on that. The other thing to keep an eye on here is if we really did break out, so I think oil's up about 6% just in the last 5 days. We have to remember that when these CPI numbers come out, that's a big component, right? It goes through gasoline, it goes through all these things. So to see oil just continuing to go higher, it kind of makes sense why inflation's starting to pick up again. And that's what we're seeing there. So watching oil real close around this 85, I still think there's resistance. But again, if we break through, I was looking at this. I don't see if we break really above this level, I don't see resistance until like 104, 105 on
Okay,
oil.
that's what my next question was.
Yeah,
where's
so
your
it's kind of scary
resistance?
because again, there's some levels that I'll show. It's actually a parallel, and just in fact, let me see if I can do that for you guys because it is such a cool trend line to show. So what I did was, and I was charting this last night, but so we have this initial line, but what if we take the second pivot where it kind of came down here, and we take that line and we connect it through some of these lows right here.
Okay.
So
yeah.
you see what's happening now? You're essentially getting a parallel line where we come right through here, and then we go here, and then we kind of here, and then it connects right to that hop. And again, parallels are so important in trading, but really if you break above this 85 area, that's really your next spot, and that's like 104 to 106.
Okay.
And then, holy cow, we're talking about stress on the economy from that, but inflation, I mean, it's just a whole fiasco.
Yeah, domino effect.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
And then,
and
gold.
lastly, let's just quickly take a look at gold. Gold was somewhat quieter today, which is, it's kind of nice for a change. It's been a rock star.
Up at this point, right?
Yeah, I mean, so it's up again. It just continues to kind of grind, but it's been kind of like there's been other things to focus on. But one of the things, again, I'm a long-term bull on gold. Like I love gold over the next 12 months. 2,500 has been my target since it was trading at 1,800. But I will say that I will look to swing trade short this thing if it gets pretty much to 23.20 to 23.30. This line
That's
here.
resistance right
That
there.
is the level
Okay.
to watch here. And again, just to show you guys, zoom out on this. And by the way, I hope people understand that you can be a long-term bull in something and still, if you see that it's going to pull back, why not make money in that direction too?
Absolutely.
And
Same with Bitcoin.
Exactly.
We see that a lot.
Exactly,
yes.
right? So again, taking that amazing run up in 1980, which by the way, you could argue that the inflation issues are pretty much identical.
Yeah.
Then you connect it through this high in 2011, and that's where I'm getting that line from there, which is around 23.20, 23.30. So we go up another $30 tomorrow.
I was going to say, we're
I'm
so
probably pulling the
close.
trigger on a short on gold.
All right.
And really, again, on that, what would I look for? Well, I mean, just a little pullback, little check back, take my money and run, and maybe even start looking longs if it comes down to these former pivot highs again. So,
Scene of the crime?
scene of the crime, baby.
Okay, sounds good. Gareth, thank you so much.
Thank
we
you.
appreciate it. Hey, remember, you can catch Gareth navigate the charts in real time every weekday morning at 9 a.m. on his show. It's called The Game Plan. It airs right here on the Verified Investing YouTube channel. So I've got another expert here, another special guest. We're going to bring in Paul Sampson with a look at Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I also want to remind you, anybody watching, if there's anything that you would like to see, especially in the crypto world as well, you want to ask Paul, make sure you put it in the comments. I'll take a note and we'll be sure to ask him next time he's on. He's on every Wednesday. And he takes a look at crypto. I call him our in-house crypto expert. We're going to talk about his shows, too. He's got shows, he's got courses, he's got a lot that you want to follow, especially if you're into crypto. We're going to start with Bitcoin. Welcome, Paul.
Happy Hump Day.
Hump Day! Yes.
Good to be here. So following up with Gareth there. So for Bitcoin, I just want to kind of cover the daily movement today, and then we'll kind of go into a little bit more of what's been going on so far this week and the beginning of the month so far. So what I've got pulled up here.
Not huge movement today, right?
No, and it's really small stuff here
Okay.
today. But what I've got pulled up, let me just see, all right, okay, perfect, is the previous day range. So this is something that when you are looking for like day trade setups and stuff like that, it's very useful. It's going to give you key levels just for, once again, very small. This is like a 2 or 3% little window here. But it's really nice because just like I point out a couple times in the past, when you come in and you sweep a high, basically, where you take yesterday's high or the monthly, you're knocking traders out of the market because all the stop losses are up there. So what we did here, very simple too. We had our daily low was right there about a little bit above 64,000. We started today right there, come down, we swept it, and then basically just ran it right back into the range. From this point, you can look for the point of control. We have a previous week low, which is a key level, which I'm going to get to that in a little bit, and then we just basically rotated the range to the high, and pretty much just been sitting in this area ever since, kind of getting a little bounce off the daily open. But not too much, right? It's
Not
like
too much to it.
Yeah, really.
I'm just kidding. I'm trying to
really,
follow
really just like
along.
a 2.5% little move. Now, as far as like the little journey that we took down into that region, basically from the beginning of this month now, I'm going to go ahead and pull up. You can see I have a gold pocket highlighted right there. And I'm sure you can.
I will see when you circle it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get better at recognizing all these different terms and patterns here, but
That's it. Hey, you're doing really great. All right, so Now we'll undo that there.
Oh,
so
nice.
this is on the daily time frame now. You know, we closed March, so basically this is like essentially where we are opened up this week. Actually, it's right there specifically, 71,400. What I highlighted here is the March range. So just on a simple just range outlook. So once again, the price action, efficiently, we'll just kind of seek out these regions. We closed the month of March, and basically as soon as April opened, you can see we ran up to the high, basically I think a couple days right before the end of March, and then now we've effectively ran down and once again rotated that range. So it moved from high to low, simple as that. I have this gold pocket pulled up right here, which is pulled from our local low to that local high. Also lined up really nicely with that region. You don't see it on here, but we had a weekly naked point of control from a couple weeks back. There was just a lot of things right in this little region here. So for me, big area to be paying attention for. So far, we've gotten a little bit of a bounce, but not too much. I'm personally looking to see if we get another run back up towards that previous all-time high once again, something that we closed above on the quarter, the week, the month, and probably everybody was, really anticipating a straight shot to 100K.
Of course.
Just to get, mixed into this. So, yeah, pretty. To me, it's a simple range. We have a couple of high time frame averages down below if we do break lower. So even if we did do that, it wouldn't be that frightening. 61,300 is a key level there that I'd be paying attention for. But at the moment, we're just ranging around in this region, and I am anticipating a move back once again towards that previous all-time high, and ideally even really just rotate the whole range back up to the upside again.
Okay, awesome. And I know you follow Ethereum. Last time I checked today, it was up. It was in the green. And Bitcoin was in the red at that moment. So they were kind of opposite, which is not always the case.
Right. A lot of times they follow each other pretty well.
Yeah.
And generally, when Bitcoin moves up 1%, it's like ETH moves like 1.5. It's almost like a little 50% more, but up until the last year and a half here, where Bitcoin's actually been outperforming a bit. But similar situation, right? So March range highlighted right here. I pointed out on Bitcoin that there was a high time frame average of price. So that is basically the average that will not move, like a 50-day moving average or a 200-day moving average. That is constantly changing. It's dynamic. These averages are set. It's the average of a certain time. It's basically for the quarter one that just closed off in March. And generally, we get a pretty quick movement to them. And just as you can see here, we didn't get that move quite yet out of Bitcoin because it's a little bit lower.
Yeah.
But to kind of explain the ETH drop, obviously it dropped with Bitcoin, but it did come actually down. We had this level stacked right at the March range low. So this is the range basically that's highlighted here. And just once again, just a full range rotation to the downside. We're getting a little bit of a bounce, holding it. Did the same thing as Bitcoin today, right? Where you came in, you swept the low. So anybody that was trying to get long yesterday, this is a daily chart once again, but anybody trying to get long in this region had their stop loss most likely just below that. Comes down, takes it out, runs it back in. So for me, paying attention to see if we do start breaking lower, do have a couple levels still mapped out, but I'm anticipating same deal, potentially a move up. And honestly, I'm looking really keen into this region up here even for ETH over coming days, weeks here.
Is it that all crypto trades 24/7?
It does, yeah.
All crypto, not just Bitcoin. Okay.
Yeah, every
I had
single
somebody
crypto.
ask, so I just want to make sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, the whole market trades. The day never ends, but technically the way we're getting candles is at 8 p.m. Eastern every single day, the 7:59. The day ends, 8 o'clock it reopens.
Starts
yeah,
over.
so
Okay.
It's an immediate thing. I tend to update all my charts at my microphone. I tend to update all my charts at 8 p.m.
Okay.
Especially for basically it just allows me to kind of get the trading strategy and plan for the next day. And then we tend to really not get too much movement until the New York session opens. Last night we actually got a really nice move right off the rip with both Bitcoin and Ethereum, but it didn't really pan out for too much, a couple percent here and there. So.
Before we go,
yes,
you got to list. I tell you, I can't keep up with it. You got a lot going on that you offer to our members and for free for anybody. So tell them where they can go to see you, to find your courses, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, well, verifiedinvesting.com is where you'll find literally everything. As we put on, even all of our latest videos are going to be on there. So you'll keep up to date. There's plenty of free material that Gareth puts out, myself, a couple of the other pros as well. It's really a little hub for everybody there. There's also my new service, Trader's Edge, where I put all my analysis. I give daily alerts, such as this one right here, where we swept the low last night. You can find it in the website as well, Verified Investing. Otherwise, my shows that I do is Tuesdays. I do a Verified Crypto Insider where I cover, generally I try to dive into the altcoins with a little bit of Bitcoin, as behind it. Recently, it's kind of been a Bitcoin show because we've had some turmoil over there, right? But I do that Tuesdays at 7 p.m. I do it as well Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern.
Okay.
And then I do this with you on every hump
Yes,
day, and we
hump
got
day.
the bottom line with Ben Poole on 4 p.m. on Fridays. So I'm just
When do you
sprinkled in
sleep?
everywhere.
When do you sleep? Paul,
That's it.
thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow.
Always a
You'll be in the
pleasure.
trading
Yeah.
room for
Thank
sure.
you so much.
But he will be back on our show next Wednesday as well. So again, if there's anything you would like him to cover, make sure you let us know in the comments. And thank you so much for watching Trading the Close. We'll see you back here tomorrow, so make it a great rest of the day.